Welcome to Whisper's Secrets. She told another man I was no longer her husband. I was sitting right behind her. Part 1. The sentence that broke me. He doesn't even notice I'm not really his wife anymore. She said it so casually, so softly, that at first I wasn't even sure I'd heard her right. But then she laughed. That soft, dangerous kind of laugh, the one she used to reserve just for me, and I knew it was real. I knew everything was about to fall apart. My name is Carter Whitman. I'm 36, a structural engineer, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought my marriage was built on concrete. Solid. Predictable. Durable. That morning, I stopped at the café near Madison and 8th because my meeting across town got cancelled last minute. I wasn't even supposed to be there. And yet, somehow, fate or the devil, maybe both, put me in that place, at that time. It was supposed to be just another Thursday. Instead, it became the day my reality cracked like glass. The cafe incident. The place was cozy. Warm lights, minimalist wood decor, indie music looping gently overhead. I'd never stepped inside, though Emma, my wife, mentioned it before, said her firm sometimes met there for brainstorming sessions. She always spoke of it like it was sacred ground. You'd love the espresso, she once told me. It hits like a freight train. I found a corner spot under a window and opened my laptop. I had about 45 minutes to kill before heading to a job site on the east side. And then the door chimed. I looked up, more out of habit than interest, and saw her. Emma. My wife. She didn't see me. Didn't even glance around. She walked in confidently, smiling, her stride light. Lighter than I'd seen in a long time. She was dressed sharply. Not unusual. But something about her posture, her energy, it felt young. New. Behind her were 3 co-workers from her firm. 2 women I vaguely recognized from holiday parties and a man. Tall. Athletic. Clean-shaven with confident eyes and a jaw that looked like it belonged in a superhero movie. He said something that made them all laugh. Emma included. They sat just one table away. So close I could hear their voices, but angled so they couldn't see me unless they turned sharply. And for reasons I still can't explain, I didn't get up. I didn't wave. Didn't say, "Hey babe." I stayed. And listened. The moment, everything changed. At first, the conversation was harmless. Work chatter. Design critiques. Inside jokes about renderings and picky clients. Then it shifted. He said something like, "You're a different person when you're with Grayson." She laughed again. I recognized the pitch of it. Flirtatious, but restrained, the kind you use when you want someone to keep going. And then, like she was offering up a piece of her soul without realizing anyone could hear, she said, "Stephen doesn't even notice I'm not really his wife anymore." Time slowed. I froze mid-sip, the rim of the mug pressed to my lip. My heart stuttered. My breath caught. She said it like it was obvious. Like it was a fact so casual, it didn't require analysis. The man, Grayson, I assumed, chuckled, low and intimate. "Maybe it's time you start taking what you deserve." I didn't hear her reply. My ears started ringing. Blood rushed so hard I thought I might pass out. I sat there, staring at the faded wood grain of the table, forcing my body to stay still, forcing my face not to react. Every muscle in my body wanted to stand, scream, throw the damn mug across the room. But I didn't. Because something colder than rage was rising inside me. Something focused. Aftermath of the cafe. She didn't see me as they left. I kept my head down, fingers clenched around the coffee cup like it was the only thing tethering me to reality. As they exited, I caught a glimpse of her laughing at something Grayson said. Her hand brushed his sleeve. Her eyes sparkled. That sparkle used to be for me. I stayed in that seat for another 10 minutes. When I finally walked out, the cold air slapped me like a warning. This isn't over. This is just the start. Replaying everything I'd missed. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't bring it up the next day either. Instead, I observed. Suddenly, every weird phone call, every late-night email, Every unexplained team meeting took on new meaning. The new phone password. The shower that ran longer than usual after yoga class. The strange cologne I didn't wear lingering on her coat. The way she stopped touching me, not in some dramatic way, but in the slow erosion of habit. The vanishing affection. The polite peck on the cheek instead of a kiss. The emotionally vacant look in her eyes when she said, "Love you." At night, always turned away from me already. I thought we were just going through a rough patch. But no, she had already checked out. She'd just forgotten to tell me. Uncovering the truth. That weekend, I checked our shared calendar. She had project hours blocked out for Sunday evening, said she'd be out with the design team working on the hotel revamp. I waited until she left, then opened her laptop. I wasn't proud. I'd never invaded her privacy before. But I wasn't operating on shame anymore. I found the folder easily. Hidden inside a folder labeled reference_images were dozens of photos. Of him. Of them. At the studio. At what looked like an Airbnb. At a rooftop bar. One selfie, Emma in a bathrobe, smiling, hair wet, leaning into him. The timestamp was from 2 weeks ago, the weekend she told me she had a work retreat. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. But not from sadness. From calculation. The plan begins. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I created a folder on a secure drive. I copied every file. Every image. Every calendar entry. Every suspicious Venmo transaction where she'd sent Grayson. "Thanks for the fun wine glass kiss mark. I opened a spreadsheet. Labeled it Exit Strategy. I started listing bank accounts, joint assets, ownership documents, my pension contributions, her client NDA contracts, my contacts at her firm's parent company. I wasn't just planning a confrontation. I was planning an exposure. 2 days later, I went back to the café. Same corner seat. Same mug. Same indie playlist. And then they walked in. Emma and Grayson. Again. They sat in the same spot. Comfortable. Confident. She leaned toward him. Whispered something. He smiled. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folder, and handed it to him. I couldn't see what was inside. But then he opened it, and even from where I sat, I recognized the blueprints. My blueprints. The ones I had designed 2 years ago for a sustainability center in Atlanta. My name was on the edge of the page. She was giving him my work. And that was the moment I realized. She hadn't just betrayed our marriage. She'd stolen my identity. Part 2, the theft I never saw coming. Cheating is one thing. But stealing the work that defines you? That's a new kind of betrayal. When I saw my blueprints in Grayson's hands, time didn't just slow, it fractured. The cafe around me blurred into static. I could barely hear the music. Barely feel my pulse. I just kept staring at the lines I'd drawn with my own hands, now passed between two people who had no right to them. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just watched. She was pointing at a section of the diagram. Explaining it. Like she'd made it. Like she understood it. Grayson nodded, listening like a client. Or a co-conspirator. The folder was one of my labeled sets, custom printed, company bound, marked confidential. How the hell did she even get it? And then I remembered. 2 months ago, she asked to borrow my laptop for a presentation deck. Said hers was acting up. I didn't think twice. Trusted her. Trusted. That word felt dirty now. Rebuilding the timeline. Back at home, I tore through our shared Dropbox folder, the backup email archives, and every cloud sync I could recall giving her access to. And there it was. A shared link. Sent to her work email from my laptop, the entire Wilfred Green build proposal, including my design drafts, materials lists, and timeline sheets. Sent during the weekend she'd been visiting her mother. My stomach twisted. This wasn't some casual affair. It was strategic. She wasn't just cheating with Grayson. She was partnering with him, using my work to position herself in some new project, likely tied to her firm's Green Urban Initiative. I checked LinkedIn. And there it was. Grayson Mathis, Head of Urban Design Partnerships, EcoSpire Development Group. EcoSpire, the same firm her company had just signed a joint venture with. That was it. That was her exit strategy. She wasn't trying to leave me. She was trying to replace me. Evidence collection. I turned into a ghost inside our home. Every smile from her became material. Every careless moment, every email I glimpsed over her shoulder, every unlocked iPad left on the couch, it all became part of the file I named Emma_Warplan. I collected voice memos from their whispered calls, screen recordings of her airdropping images to herself from my desktop, credit card charges linked to upscale restaurants on dates I was supposedly out of town, a private Slack message cache she forgot to log out of, where she said, "I think we can pitch the design under new branding. He won't fight it if I play it carefully. He won't fight it." She thought I was weak. She thought I wouldn't notice. But what she never understood was that people like me, the quiet ones, don't fall apart. We build strategy while they're still lying. Rehearsed deception. By the end of that week, I couldn't look at her without feeling the weight of it. And yet, she was so effortlessly normal. Smiling when I walked in. Making spaghetti and humming to herself. Asking if I wanted to do a cabin weekend in February. Cabin weekend? Was that for us? Or just a placeholder in case the Grayson plan didn't work out? Every word felt staged. Every gesture felt stolen. I no longer saw my wife. I saw a woman playing a version of herself, just long enough to finish the heist. The first move. I met with a lawyer the following Monday. Not just any lawyer. I called Cora Halstead, a legal nightmare for white-collar fraud cases and intellectual property theft. She was the one major developers feared, not because she was loud, but because she was surgical. I showed her the evidence. The blueprints. The signed contracts. The Slack messages. Her eyes narrowed. She's not just cheating on you. She's building a life off your reputation. What are my options? She leaned forward. First, we lock down every asset. Second, we file for a protective claim on your intellectual property. Third, she smiled. We let her walk right into the fire she lit. Phase 1, Financial Containment. By Thursday we had frozen our joint account, split the investment portfolio, moved the house deed into dispute status, initiated a lockout on my firm's Dropbox access, alerted EcoSpire's legal department anonymously that stolen property was in play. And Emma? She had no idea. She still kissed my cheek in the mornings, still hummed while brushing her teeth, still wore the necklace I gave her on our 5th anniversary, the one she claimed was her anchor. What a joke. The recording. Friday night I did something I didn't think I'd ever do. I planted a voice recorder in her work tote. Just a slim, wireless recorder no bigger than a thumb drive. She'd started taking her meetings on the go lately, more coffee catch-ups than usual. I told her I'd be out of town overnight. A project. Site visit. In truth, I drove 2 blocks down and waited. She left at 7:11 p.m. dressed nice. Lipstick bold. Her smile, different. At midnight I retrieved the recorder. I sat in the dark of Nate's spare room and pressed play. He doesn't suspect anything. You're sure? Carter's not the type to fight. He'll get quiet. He'll withdraw. It's what he does. I just need to hold out for 2 more weeks, then we go public with the pitch and it's over. Then Grayson's voice. And the blueprint? I've got the master files. He left his drive connected. I downloaded the originals before I cleared the shared folder. Silence. Then laughter. Mine? It died right there. I sent the recording to Cora. She replied 3 minutes later. That's enough to start. You ready to make her world collapse? But I wasn't done yet. I needed to see her lie to my face one more time. So I went home early that night. She looked up from the kitchen island, surprise flickering across her features. "You're home early?" "Yeah," I said. "Thought I'd surprise you." I kissed her forehead and looked her straight in the eyes. And then I said, "I was thinking maybe we could do that cabin weekend." Her smile widened. And I knew she was already planning to take him there. Part 3. The cabin weekend she'd never forget. Sometimes the best trap is letting your enemy think they've already won. Her smile when I mentioned the cabin weekend was the same one she used when she was hiding something. That overly casual, slow-spreading grin that didn't quite reach her eyes. I knew it like I knew the lines on her palm. I played my part. I asked which weekend worked best. She suggested next, said she could clear her calendar if the design pitch wraps up early. I nodded. Told her I'd reserve the place. Said I needed the break. Said I missed us. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. "Me too," she whispered. I had to fight the urge to wipe her lie off my face. Because I knew what she didn't. I knew Grayson was already blocked from booking it. Rewiring the weekend. The cabin was mine, my name was on the deed. It had belonged to my grandfather. Emma didn't even know I'd refinanced it under a private trust during the pandemic when we were having money talks. She thought we still co-owned it. She thought she could use it for a romantic getaway with Grayson while feeding me a story about work deadlines and wine-fueled burnout. But I'd already spoken to the property manager. Changed the locks. Installed security cams with cloud backup. And most importantly, booked the weekend for myself. But I wasn't going there to relax. I was going there to watch her lie collapse in real time. Finalizing the playbook. That week was all about precision. Cora filed the first cease and desist letters to EcoSpire's legal team with timestamped evidence. I drafted a resignation notice Emma could, accidentally, receive from her firm's cloud account, enough to shake her without triggering suspicion. We submitted a formal claim to the city's building code office that someone outside my license had submitted derivative blueprints. And I packaged everything into one document titled Emma_fraud_dossier.zip. The plan? Make sure she sees everything the day she thinks she's about to disappear into a lakeside retreat with her new prize. The Friday arrival. She left work early Friday. Texted me mid-afternoon. Just wrapping up the last design email. "You sure you're good to drive solo?" I replied. "Already on the road. Save me a glass of wine." She didn't know I wasn't driving north. I was already at the cabin. Parked up the hill behind the old utility barn, where the cameras wouldn't catch my car. I set the system to live stream to my phone. Multiple angles, porch, living room, bedroom. And then I waited. She arrives, with him. 7:18 p.m. Emma's car pulled up the gravel driveway. Passenger door opened. Grayson. Of course. He was carrying 2 overnight bags and a bottle of wine. Laughing. Smug. Confident. They unlocked the door like they owned the place. She lit the fireplace. He poured drinks. And 5 minutes later they toasted. To fresh starts, he said. To leaving dead weight behind. She answered. I felt nothing. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just a calm, clean emptiness. The cabin conversation. Thanks to the mics inside, I heard everything. Grayson. So we're really doing this? You're going to resign next week? Emma. Already drafted the email. I'll say I've found a new opportunity. They won't question it. Carter won't even notice. Grayson. You sure he hasn't caught on? Emma. Carter? He thinks we're spending the weekend fixing things. Laughter. Grayson. What about the pitch deck? Emma. Scheduled to send it Sunday. Full presentation, full rebranding. They'll never trace it. I scrubbed everything. Grayson. And the blueprints? Emma. He doesn't even remember he left them on his cloud drive. I deleted the access history. We're clean. They clinked glasses again. Emma. Monday morning, we're untouchable. What she didn't know. Saturday morning? While they made pancakes and flirted in my cabin, I uploaded the m_fraud_dossier.zip to 3 places. EcoSpire's executive inbox. Her firm's ethics compliance officer. A burner Reddit account set up to leak design theft anonymously. Then I scheduled an email to her personal inbox. Subject: to fresh starts. You thought I was too quiet to notice. You thought I wouldn't fight. You were wrong. I scheduled it for 10:15 a.m. Exactly when they'd be enjoying their second mimosa on the porch. I watched from my car as she stepped outside. Grayson followed, phone in hand, laughing at something. Then he froze. His screen had lit up. Emma checked hers. I saw her face shift, from drunk bliss to puzzled concern. She read the subject line. Opened the email. And then? She dropped her phone. Grayson grabbed it. Scanned the screen. And that's when the shouting began. She turned toward the cabin, as if trying to understand where the hammer had come from. And I just sat back in the car, smile creeping across my face. She'd finally noticed me. But it was too late. And I wasn't her husband anymore. Part 4. Burn everything, then smile. She planned her future on my ashes. But I rebuilt myself with her ruin. Her scream shattered the still air around the cabin. Even through the trees, I could hear her voice slicing through Grayson's attempts to calm her down. They were both standing on the deck, hunched over her phone, spinning between confusion and panic like rats caught in a flood they didn't see coming. Emma paced back and forth in her socks, face pale, fingers trembling. She was muttering. Grayson tried to say something about deniability, and we can explain it. But she shoved his hand away and stormed inside. I watched through the camera feed as she rifled through her bag, grabbing her laptop, yanking the charger from the wall like she could plug her way out of the hole she dug. She hadn't seen the worst part yet. That was scheduled for 10:30. 15 minutes to go. Reactions from the inside. Cora texted me at 10:18. EcoSpire's legal is in emergency lockdown. Executives are meeting now. One confirmed internal email reads, immediate cease on all Mathis proposals. Fraud verification in process. 2 minutes later. Your wife's firm just suspended her account access. Their in-house counsel just got the dossier. By 10:27 a.m., the dominoes were collapsing perfectly. And at 10:30? The final blow. I triggered the upload. The anonymous Reddit post went live. How one woman used her husband's engineering license to pitch a fraudulent green design to a corporate JV. Tag, #EcoSpire scam. With a PDF attachment. Not rage-filled. Just facts. Timelines. Screenshots. Slack chats. Side-by-side blueprint overlays with metadata. Watching them spiral. Inside the cabin, Emma's laptop dinged. She opened the link. First came the freeze, the way she leaned forward, blinking in disbelief, scrolling faster and faster like she could outrun the truth on the screen. Then the horror. She whispered something, and Grayson leaned in. He saw the Reddit thread, his name tagged. Then his face drained of color. I watched as they both scrambled, pacing the room, trying to make calls. I had already turned off the cabin's Wi-Fi router remotely. Their phones still had reception, but the router handled the laptop connections. They couldn't reach the cloud files. Couldn't take the post down. Couldn't access anything they'd stolen. And the cameras? They recorded every second. The phone call. At 11:01 a.m., Emma finally called me. I didn't answer. She tried again. Then she texted. Emma, what the hell is this? Why are you doing this? Please talk to me. Emma, Carter, please. It's not what it looks like. I need to explain. Please. Emma, I'm freaking out. Please. You're scaring me. I put my phone face down on the dashboard. She wasn't scared of me. She was scared of consequences. And she was finally meeting the version of me that paid attention. The confrontation. I waited until they left. They packed in a hurry, no smiles, no hugs, no lingering kisses. Just cold silence and slamming doors. I didn't follow them. I walked into the cabin after they'd gone, air still heavy with their cologne, their betrayal, their noise. I opened the windows. Let the wind sweep out what was left of them. And then I deleted the cabin's access code and reprogrammed it. That place was clean now. Fallout begins. Over the next 48 hours, EcoSpire announced a full internal review. Grayson's public profile was scrubbed. The Reddit thread hit 20,000 upvotes and got picked up by 2 architecture subreddits. Emma's firm placed her on unpaid leave pending legal investigation. My inbox exploded, colleagues, partners, even competitors asking if I needed a new firm, a fresh start, a platform. And me? I stayed silent. I let the truth echo. Emma's last try. 3 days later, she came home. I was packing. Boxes lined the hallway. She stood in the doorway, still dressed for work, like she didn't know it was already over. Carter, please. Can we talk? I zipped up a duffel bag. You talked enough already? She walked forward. I didn't mean for it to go this far. You meant to lie. I got lost, okay? I was afraid. I stared at her. You didn't look afraid when you handed him my blueprints. Tears welled up. I made a mistake. No. You made a plan. Her voice broke. You were distant. You made me feel invisible. You didn't want to be seen. I said. You wanted to be someone else. And you used me to do it. She sat down on the edge of the couch, head in her hands. What happens now? I grabbed the last box and walked to the door. I looked back once, just long enough to make sure she saw the difference in my eyes. You wanted to know what it felt like to be without a husband? I said softly. Well, now you know. I walked out. And I didn't look back. But I wasn't done yet. Grayson still had a few lessons left to learn. Part 5, what he stole from me, I took back in full. She betrayed our vows. He helped her profit from it. But neither of them understood. You don't get to bury me and keep the gold. I didn't leave town to heal. I left to strike. Emma had tried to move on like nothing happened. After I walked out, she sent messages every other day, all variations of regret, deflection, and desperation. Can we at least talk about the house? I never wanted to hurt you like this. Please don't make me your enemy. What she didn't know was that it was never about her anymore. It was about Grayson. He was the architect of this heist. He saw a stable man, a quiet husband, and thought he could pluck a life out of my hands without consequence. He was about to find out how wrong he was. A message in public. The story had gone semi-viral in the architecture and engineering community. The Reddit thread? Shared on LinkedIn. Then in a private Slack channel for licensed green builders. Then via email by an old professor of mine who captioned it. Protect your designs like your life depends on it. I didn't post it. I didn't ask anyone to. I didn't have to. Truth spreads fast when it hits like a slow burn. Within days, EcoSpire made a statement. Pending review, we have paused all contracts with external designers connected to recent allegations. Grayson's name wasn't on their site anymore. But I wasn't done. His weakest link. I started with public records. Every consultant leaves a trail. A client testimonial here. A forgotten image credit there. I found a property, Lakeford Heights Community Center, a sustainable redevelopment Grayson had advised on 3 years ago. His name was on a digital plaque on their site. And below that? The name of a legal oversight consultant, Cynthia Reeves. She was listed as the grant compliance liaison for the project. So I called her. Introduced myself. Told her I had questions about Grayson Mathis project conduct. There was a pause. Then, a long exhale. You're not the first one. The skeleton files. Cynthia had her own folder, she called it. The skeleton files. Inside? 2 allegations of duplicate blueprint submissions. 1 private mediation regarding intellectual property. 1 settlement paid quietly by Grayson's LLC in 2024. Professional overreach. And a scanned NDA signed by a woman named Rachel K. Handwritten margin note. Forced to sign under threat of project removal. He'd done this before. This wasn't about Emma. It never had been. She was just the latest shortcut in a career built on fraud and paper masks. Back to EcoSpire. Cora and I sent them a new package, the skeleton files, plus my notarized affidavit outlining his involvement in the cabin theft, the forged signature on the proposal, and the impersonation of my consulting credentials. Their legal reply? Immediate contract nullification with Grayson Mathis. They used the phrase, willfully deceptive, 3 times. That was when Cora said something that stayed with me. He underestimated you because you didn't shout. But you buried him in silence. Emma's crumbling world. I didn't reply to her texts, but I watched. Her Instagram changed, photos removed, captions edited. Her company updated their bio, her title gone. Her LinkedIn said, open to work. And then? She showed up at my new apartment. Hair tied up. Pale. Jacket wrinkled like she hadn't slept. I didn't let her in. She stood in the hallway, holding a small box. These were your father's cufflinks, she said quietly. I found them in my drawer. I wanted to leave them. She set them down on the floor. Do you hate me? I met her eyes. I don't hate you, I said. I'm just done carrying you. The final blow for Grayson. He reached out to me through a mutual contact, some desperate Hail Mary. Said he wanted to settle this like men. I agreed. I told him to meet me at a downtown café, public, neutral, sterile. He arrived wearing sunglasses and false confidence. I just want to clear the air, he said, setting his coffee down. This got messier than it needed to be. I nodded. You're right, I replied. So let's make it messier. I slid a printed document across the table. A civil lawsuit, defamation, professional theft, misrepresentation of identity, and financial damages. His hand twitched. You can't be serious. I sipped my coffee. You made your bed with lies. I made mine with receipts. He stood, shoved the document back toward me. I'll fight this. I smiled. You'll drown in it. 3 weeks later, he filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. The lawsuit stood. Emma moved back to her parents' house. And me? I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, morning coffee in hand, watching the skyline. I'd lost my marriage. But I'd gained something else. My peace. My name. My voice. Then a knock at my door. I opened it. A courier stood with an envelope. From a law firm I didn't recognize. Inside? A letter. Emma was suing me. Part 6. The divorce she weaponized became her undoing. You stole from me. Lied to me. Built a life from my silence. Now you want what's left? The envelope shook in my hands. Not from fear. From disbelief. She was suing me. Emma Briggs, former architect, disgraced employee, emotional fraud, had filed a petition in family court demanding 50% of all remaining marital assets, ongoing spousal support, in light of career interruption, retention of shared property including our lake cabin, compensation for emotional distress caused by reputational damage. She twisted everything, claimed I engineered a public campaign to shame her, that my Reddit post destroyed her career, and that I maliciously weaponized our private breakdown for public humiliation. I read it twice. Then I laughed. I couldn't help it. This woman burned down a life we built together, and now wanted me to hand her the insurance money. Cora's response. I forwarded the paperwork to Cora. She called me 20 minutes later, voice sharp, cold, ready. This is good. Good? I said. She's suing me for the mess she created. Exactly, Cora replied. Which means she put all her lies on the record. She explained, When Emma filed, she attached a sworn affidavit, full of falsehoods and omissions. But now, everything she claimed could be directly contradicted with evidence. The timeline of her affair. The stolen blueprints. The recorded conversations. Her emails pitching my work. She just handed us the rope, Cora said. All I need to do now is tighten the knot. The deposition. 2 weeks later, we sat across a long table in a downtown law office. Emma wore gray. No jewelry. No makeup. Her lawyer, older, sharp, and already annoyed, had that twitchy energy of someone who'd read too much and liked none of it. Cora asked the first question. Did you submit architectural design materials to EcoSpire while married to Mr. Briggs? Emma looked at her attorney. He nodded. Yes, she said quietly. Were those materials based in whole or part on any work created by Mr. Briggs? No. They were my adaptations. Did you have permission to use any portion of his licensed material? It was community property. Cora smiled. Incorrect. Engineering intellectual property is not subject to marital joint use unless explicitly co-authored. Let's move on. Over 2 hours, Emma answered. Hesitated. Contradicted herself. Swallowed lies that sounded worse when spoken aloud. When we played the recording, he doesn't suspect anything. He'll get quiet. He always does. Her lawyer stopped the deposition. We need a recess, he said. But it was already too late. The verdict. 30 days later, the judgment was finalized. The court ruled. All intellectual property belonged solely to me. Emma's misuse of my license constituted professional misconduct. Her defamation claim was dismissed with prejudice. She owed restitution for legal expenses and damages, $74,600. She was barred from receiving spousal support or claiming shared ownership of the cabin. The divorce was ruled in my favor, citing gross marital misconduct. Cora closed the folder. That, she said standing, is what consequences look like. What came after? Grayson moved to Arizona. Or tried to. The lawsuit followed him. A settlement was eventually reached, small, but symbolic. He signed a letter of apology. He admitted to using fraudulent work. It was published by his former firm as part of their compliance cleanup. Emma disappeared for a while. Social media, gone. Mutual friends, silent. Her parents sold their house 6 months later. Word was she moved to a smaller city, working freelance contracts under a new name. I didn't follow her. Didn't want to. The letter. Nearly a year to the day after that morning in the café, I received a handwritten envelope. It was from her. I stared at it for a long time before opening. Asterisk. Carter. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not even asking for a reply. I just wanted you to know something. You were never the enemy. You were the mirror I couldn't stand looking into. You gave me love, stability, safety, and I repaid it with fear and ambition. I thought you didn't see me. But now I realize, you saw everything. You just didn't say it out loud. And when you finally did, you didn't scream. You ended me with grace. That's what haunts me. Emma. Asterisk. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. Not out of nostalgia, but as a reminder. Epilogue, rebuilt from ash. I live somewhere new now. Different city. Smaller space. A dog named Marlowe. Some quiet land upstate with trees taller than my pain. Sometimes I speak at conferences. I talk about structural design, but also about ethics. About ownership. About not letting anyone else define your worth. And every once in a while, someone comes up to me after a talk. They've read the post. They've followed the case. They ask, "Do you ever regret how you handled it?" I always say the same thing. I didn't burn her world down. I just stopped protecting it. Thank you for being with us on Whisper's Secrets. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe. The secrets are waiting to be revealed. See you soon.